Please welcome back to the stage product managers of DBT Labs, Grace Goheen and Jeremy Cohen.
Good afternoon, everyone.
We are thrilled to be back here closing out day one with the afternoon keynote with rewriting what's possible in the age of AI.
You know, Grace, I've been thinking,
Oh no.
what if next year they try to replace us with AI?
Like an all-powerful LLMC?
Yeah, or like an MCP server.
No. They can't do that. We're special.
Prompt, you are a charismatic host with a powerful stage presence and a winning smile. Your tools are make data jokes, order costumes, hype up the crowd.
Jeremy, you're worrying about nothing.
How do I know that you're not already AI?
I think you're having a midlife crisis.
You're right. You're right. We're irreplaceable.
But maybe you're onto something here. We could use AI as a tool in our MC workflow.
An agentic loop to write our jokes and immediately validate that they're not funny.
Yeah, it would save everyone a lot of time.
AI can't replace us as MCs, but it could help.
And the same is true for your data workflows.
This morning, we heard from Tristan, Faith, and our customer, Oyvind from Norges Bank, about how AI is rapidly changing the game on how data work gets done.
You could say AI is rewriting what's possible.
Right, you are. And there's no better person to help us reflect on this journey and start thinking bigger about what comes next than this afternoon's keynote speaker, Ashley Kramer.
Ashley is a recognized industry thought leader at the intersection of data and AI and is currently the Chief Revenue Officer at OpenAI. She spent her career leading high-growth companies at the bleeding edge of data and technology at places like NASA, Amazon, Tableau, and GitLab, in both technical and go-to-market positions. She holds both board and advisory positions at various high-growth startups and is committed to fostering innovation in the tech industry.
Please join us in giving a hearty Coalesce welcome to Ashley Kramer.
We're entering a defining era, one where AI is only as powerful as the data driving it. And that connection between data and intelligence has shaped every step of my career. I began my career as an engineer at NASA, but I wasn't as interested in the code as I was in the insights hiding within the data. Then at Tableau, I learned the importance of making data more accessible. At Alteryx, how to scale and automate those insights. And then at GitLab and DBT, the absolute importance of openness, collaboration, and community to accelerate everything. And now that has come full circle at OpenAI, where we're building innovation to help humans and machines think together. But every stage has taught me the same truth. With each solution that we bring to market, we create the next big challenge to solve. So to get ready for this next generation of Gen AI, we need to first understand how we got here. Because every stage of data evolution has been building toward this moment and will help guide us in what happens next. So let's get started. We'll start from the beginning. Over 4,000 years ago, Egyptian scribes started tracking grain and labor on scrolls. These were the first known data ledgers in history. It was revolutionary. For the first time, information was finally taken from the mind and put down on paper. The papyrus ledger was humanity's first database. Slow, handwritten, but world-changing. And every breakthrough since has followed that same paradigm: to capture, structure, and make sense of our world. The papyrus ledger solved for memory, but made interaction the next challenge. So now, in the interest of time, we'll fast forward a little bit to the 1960s, where a quiet engineer out of Stanford named Douglas Engelbart began asking a new kind of question. What if computers could help us think? Now, of course, by the 60s, computers were already around, but they were mostly giant calculators, meant for math, not meaning. But Engelbart imagined something far more human. He imagined a world where technology could amplify our ability to learn, connect, and collaborate. So in 1968, he proved it in something called the mother of all demos, where he introduced to the world the mouse hypertext in real-time collaboration. It was the first glimpse of computers as thought partners instead of just processors of numbers. But once humans and machines started creating all of this information together, it posed the next big question. What do we do with all of that data? Engelbart solved for interaction, but he made data structure the new challenge. Enter the relational database, and everything changed again. For the first time, information was organized into logical relationships. SQL became the universal language for turning information into answers, but those systems were rigid, powerful, but limited to specialists. Relational databases solve for structure, but made accessibility the new challenge. So we layered on reporting systems on top, business objects, Cognos. This was the first time business teams could consistently rely on data so they can make better business decisions. It brought discipline and repeatability, but it created yet another gap. The people closest to the data were not the ones building out the reports. So it took several iterations to get to truth. So reporting systems solved for accessibility, but made self-serve the new challenge. Then came Excel, and suddenly anyone could analyze and model their data, not just analysts and engineers. It was freedom. Suddenly, millions of people had access to analytics for the first time. It was also chaos. Soon, spreadsheets multiplied, and many versions of the truth floated throughout organizations. Clippy tried to help, but we all know that he was constantly late to the party. If you're too young for that joke, ChatGPT it. Always be selling. Spreadsheets solved for self-serve, but made accuracy the new challenge. So we emerged on something near and dear to my heart, the business intelligence revolution. Tools like Tableau and Power BI made data visual and intuitive. You could connect to spreadsheets and relational databases, and instead of waiting for reports, drag and drop, create powerful insights, put them together in a dashboard, and share and collaborate it with others in the organization, an area where spreadsheets broke down. But in democratizing data, we multiplied definitions. Businesses had many dashboards, but not more alignment. BI solved for collaboration, but made scale the new challenge. Then, as data exploded, along came the cloud and the modern data stack. Compute and storage became elastic and affordable. Transformations became fast and reliable. Pipeline automation stitched it all together, making analytics more seamless and scalable. But as the stack grew, we recreated the silos of the past. Different teams built their own pipelines, had their own models, and their own definitions of truth. The same term could mean 3 different things in 3 different tools. The modern data stack solved for scale, but created silos and made shared context the new challenge. So we added machine learning, systems that could learn from data in all kinds of shapes, sizes, and from all kinds of sources. Neural networks and large language models gave analytics a new brain. For the first time, systems were learning from data instead of just querying it. But even the smartest models failed when the inputs were flawed. They recognized patterns, but couldn't grasp meaning. They could predict outcomes, but they couldn't explain them. Machine learning solved for context in learning, but not for understanding. And that brings us here, to the era of generative AI. For the first time, machines don't just analyze, they synthesize. They write, code, visualize, summarize, even hypothesize. They turn knowledge into action at the speed of language. Gen AI is not here to replace human intelligence. As Engelbert predicted many years ago, it amplifies it. We're not teaching machines to think for us, we're teaching them to help us think better. But when it comes to data, we have to get it right this time. If the last 4,000 years were about capturing data, this next era is about unlocking meaning. Because even in the Gen AI wave, AI is only as good as its data. When data is inconsistent, insights are unreliable. When context is missing, comprehension disappears. So our mission now is clear. We need to solve for transparency before it becomes the next big challenge. To trust AI, we have to trust the data behind it. We don't want to look back and call this the trustworthy AI era. We want this to be the era where humans and machines learn to think together. Because if we want AI to be reliable, explainable, and scalable, we have to build it on a foundation that we trust. And that starts with open standards and shared context. The connective tissue that ensures every system, every model, and every organization speaks the same language. And I'm proud to be at OpenAI and serve on the board of DBT, where together we're shaping how AI and data come together in this next era. And to tell you more about how DBT is turning that vision into a reality, I'm honored to welcome somebody who has been at 4 companies with me solving these challenges, Russell Christopher. I've heard I'm hard to work for, but I didn't think you thought that.
You're the best. I love you.
Don't mess this up.
Everyone, a great round of applause for Ashley. She's the best. She's nice to me. Hi, everyone. I'm Russell Christopher, Senior Director of Product Strategy here at DBT. Look around the room. Building trustworthy AI is the next challenge for all of us. And that's because we've seen what can go wrong with AI. It might be as simple as getting a bad sales number for a report. Or it might be a chatbot deciding to sell a Chevy Tahoe for $1 to someone. And that actually happened in the real world. These miscues, I guess you could call them, they erode trust. And avoiding these problems requires a new approach. Now, at DBT Labs, we believe that trustworthy AI starts with trustworthy data, and that begins with openness. Now, open collaboration has always been the foundation of our community, from how we define models to how we share standards across the data ecosystem. The same principle extends to semantics, the shared language that gives your data meaning. We took the first steps about 3 weeks ago to start helping people solve this problem for good. Now, as Ashley said, and actually Tristan, AI needs context. It's understanding who's asking, about what, for when, et cetera, to get the right answers when all is said and done. And AI requires semantics, not closed proprietary semantics. We need open semantics, interoperable semantics. That's why last month, spearheaded by Snowflake, we joined the Open Semantic Interchange along with some of the largest players in the industry. OSI is a commitment to a shared standard format for semantic definitions and a commitment to support interoperability for that standard. To make the standard real, we are open sourcing metric flow. We know this already under the Apache license. The same engine that powers the DBT semantic layer and can now serve as a reference implementation for the OSI. So that's very cool. So metric flow and OSI work hand in hand. OSI defines the format, metric flow operationalizes it, turning definitions into optimized SQL for every major data platform. Ultimately, we plan to donate this project to one of the leading open source software foundations. Those words were chosen very carefully. Can't even say the name or I will get gang tackled. But after we do that, it will truly be a community-led effort. So over the next few months, we are going to be working with our OSI partners on governance and contribution models to set ourselves up for this transition. Now you might be asking, what is the actual value of OSI to me? And really you'll be able to rely on all of the OSI partners for three main things. One, we are all committed to interoperability. So no matter where in the stack you build your definitions, database or maybe transformation or BI analytics, you'll be able to use and leverage them in your work. Number two, we have all committed to leveraging a standard not owned by one particular vendor. That's going to help you avoid lock-in. So you can make whatever future data decisions you need to without having to worry about big migrations or changing the way you do business. Finally, number three is very simple. You will future-proof your AI projects, meaning that no matter where your semantics live, they will be AI addressable. We all know that open standards built the modern data stack. Now with metric flow and OSI, open semantics will make AI trustworthy. So we're going to shift gears, go a little bit deeper. I'm going to invite some of my friends out on stage. Chris, Anjan, and Nick, come on out. Was that the longest walk ever?
It's a long walk.
Are you tired, out of breath? I'll give you a second to catch your breath. All right, so we're going to all introduce ourselves. Chris, we'll start with you. Maybe you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. So hi, everyone. I'm Chris. I've been at Snowflake for 7 years. I lead product management for all of our data engineering efforts. And part of what's been fun about being there for the last 7 years is getting to see how the whole industry, the customers, everything is growing alongside Fivetran, dbt, Tableau, all the different tools that you're using, and really how everything's kind of grown and shaped together. So it's been really fun to be part of that journey.
All right. Well, first question, hopefully it's not too juicy, but I've heard you talk a lot about interoperability, and it might seem weird to the audience that a company that does a lot of data platform work is actually making data more portable. Can you share why interoperability and context matters so much to you?
Yeah, so I think it's funny because Snowflake, when we started, one of the big differentiators of Snowflake was actually that we weren't trying to create a new language for you to use or a new way to operate. If anyone remembers at the time, it was a lot of people were worrying about NoSQL and map-reduced jobs, and Snowflake actually went in a completely different direction of saying, look, it's SQL. We're going to use the same SQL that everyone already knows. We're going to try to be interoperable. And I think that has permeated a lot of what we've done. There's a lot of changes that we've been working towards of making sure that it's as easy as possible to take your data and do what you want with it and activate it in a lot of different ways. And especially now as we're seeing, as Ashley talked about, AI coming and doing a lot more with your data, you need better ways to access it and better ways to use it. So we've been investing a lot in things like Iceberg and Apache Polaris, which we're working with a number of other folks here on. It's been really important for us to make sure that, for all of you out there, it's your data. We want to make sure that you have access to it and that you can use it in the ways that you want. One of the interesting things about interoperability has been how we've come and applied it now to the semantic layer and the work that you've done. I think one of the things that I found super fascinating is we started actually trying to build AI models to generate SQL and take questions that you had and build out what's the right SQL query to run. And most of them were terrible, honestly. We trained our own foundational models. We tried to fine-tune models from a bunch of different providers. We tried to figure out how to get the OpenAI GPT models to do it, and everything was awful. And we actually were surprised by this because we have a pretty massive corpus of SQL queries that we've run over the years, and so we figured with that we could train this and we'd get great outcomes. But what we realized is you hire a new data analyst and you bring them into your company, you don't hand them a printout of 10 years worth of SQL queries that everyone on your teams run and expect them to figure out what your company defines as a customer or what you define as revenue. Instead, you actually explain it to them and you show them how the data relates to each other and what the business metrics actually mean. And so it turned out what we were missing was a semantic model. Once we started giving these models access to semantic data from dbt, from whatever other semantic models people were defining, often in YAML files, suddenly we were getting really, really good results. And so everything that we've built has sort of been on top of that. But it really showed us that having that data that had traditionally lived really just in BI tools was actually incredibly important for a variety of other reasons, AI and a bunch of other things about how you actually use and operate on that data. And so we realized the best way to do that is to create an open format for interchanging and sharing that semantic data. Again, we view this as it's important, it belongs to customers. We want to make sure that you can use that same form of data, certainly in Snowflake, but in all the other tools that sit in the ecosystem as well. And so that's why we've been really excited about the OSI and being able to come and build this in an open way along with a ton of different partners across the ecosystem.
Thank you. Thank you. So Nick.
Hello, Russell.
Hello, Nick. Tell us who you are and what you do at Tableau.
So I'm Nick. I've been 10 years at Tableau. In fact, I think I've been working with Snowflake for the entire time. So I own connectivity, self-service data preparation, governance, and as a side project, strategic partnerships, part of the reason why we're here. So very excited to be in front of you all today.
All right.
All right.
Well, you heard Chris talk about OSI and why it was important to them. Why did Tableau sign on?
So we've kind of been building towards this for some time. So Tableau, of course, can connect to hundreds of different systems. So I'd say it's a reflection of both the work that we do with our partners and then our mutual customers. And many of you out there probably have to deal with multiple systems. As much as you want to try and standardize on one platform, that's not the reality of the data landscape. And what I started hearing, especially since we started working with dbt, because that allowed us to talk to a different set of mutual customers, was we are trying to standardize where we define key business metrics, and we don't want to have to replicate them everywhere. And fortunately, in the background, we were already collaborating on enabling the consumption of external metrics within Tableau. So to me, this is just a natural extension of this. And frankly, I don't know that a single vendor could have done this on their own. And so it was really, really important to get some leaders in the industry to commit to doing this. And of course, you saw the slide with a whole bunch of other vendors, including competitors. And hopefully, we're going to keep bringing others on board and continue to grow this, because I think you can think of a semantic layer, if it's proprietary, it's just another data silo. And so this is truly an effort to just keep opening up data and set it free.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Anjan, from your perspective at Fivetran, why is openness and standardization across the stack so critical right now? And shame on me, I actually didn't ask you to introduce yourself, which you should.
I'll keep it brief. Thank you, Russell, for having me on the panel. I lead all things product at Fivetran. And like what you guys are saying really resonates. Maybe I'll share an anecdote. Like everyone's chasing AI, and like AI is only as good as your data foundation. And I'll share an anecdote with a recent conversation. A senior data leader at a large bank, and he got the new mission, like you're gonna run AI for the company. And the first challenge that he ran into was like, there were 6 different data stacks and 6 different data warehouses. And those were all valid for analytics, and he evolved over time. But now AI demands new use cases, and context was stuck in all these warehouses. So, and the first alignment was like, hey, go use Iceberg. And so they did that, and they connected Iceberg to these compute systems. And they're like, okay, let's kind of use our new fancy LLME and connect to Iceberg. But then they realized the queries kind of suck. And I think this is the semantic problem that they ran into. But then the new challenge, it's like every vendor has their own implementation of a semantic model, and it's proprietary. And like, so they're all spending this time thinking about coming up with a semantic model rather than focusing on their business. So I think AI really needs open and interoperable foundation. And that's Iceberg, that's OSI. In fact, we're collaborating with Snowflake and Chris, your team on Polaris. So I think AI demands an open foundation.
Great, great. Chris, you heard this morning Tristan talk about open sourcing metric flow. I just talked a little bit about it. How is that going to support the OSI initiative as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, no, we were super excited about this, and this was something that we'd been talking with the DBT team and with Tristan about for a while. Is OSI is really a agreement that we will have a standard, and we will define there exactly what that standard looks like. But what we were lacking was a reference implementation to really show exactly how it can work. And so it was really exciting when Tristan told us that they were planning to open source metric flow, and that meant that we could start to use it really as the foundation of OSI and as the reference implementation of what this will look like. There will obviously be others, because I think a lot of vendors will donate their versions of it, but we now have a really great starting point, and so we're really excited about that.
Okay. Anjan, let's talk about the merger a little bit. You know, the companies have been connected indirectly for years. I want you to put your product hat on a little bit and treat me as a user. You know, how do you see combining the strengths of Fivetran and DBT? What does that do for me? Why is that making me happier, making my life easier, better, et cetera?
You know, EL and T are coming together in Vegas. What's not to like? We've got about 1,500 joint customers today. So it's like a pretty proven pattern. Customers like using Fivetran and DBT Labs together. We have a pretty good integration. But let me kind of echo a bit about where we can go in the future, and I'll kind of echo what George and Tristan shared this morning about open data infrastructure. We're in the age of AI, and you need to move data. Fivetran's good at that. You need a central storage layer with Iceberg. You need DBT models that are state-aware and powerful. You need a very strong semantic model and metadata layer, and you need activation back. Like, you can't do anything, you can't impact change if you're not hitting the operational workflows. And all of this needs to be open, and it means any compute engine, any BI tool, and any LLM. And it's very likely the thing that we want to use has now been invented. It's like a new AI native analytics engine or a workflow, so you kind of want to be future-proof. So that's very exciting to sign up for that vision with both companies. Post-close, I can kind of think about a couple of cool possibilities from what I heard this morning in the keynote. Fivetran's good at doing schema drift. Like, we are very good at detecting schema changes and pushing that out to the staging layer. Perhaps we can push that all the way to the metric. Like, there's good SQL understanding in Fusion. We could leverage that. Fivetran is also good at knowing when the data changes. We do CDC. So perhaps we could push that cost optimization we heard today to the next level. So some really intriguing possibilities. Again, post-close that we'll get into, but I think we're signing up for an exciting future.
No guarantees on that, folks, all right? All right, want to keep the lawyers happy. Chris, if you've been paying attention at all, you know, it's pretty clear that DBT's success is largely, well, not largely, but it has been tied to Snowflake's success when all is said and done. What are you most excited about in terms of working with the DBT team? And, you know, what maybe should the audience be thinking about going into the new year in that regard?
Yeah, no, I think it's completely fair to say that the success has been tied together, and I'd include Fivetran in that as well. We always talk about, you know, Snowflake by itself doesn't do a whole lot. You need to put some data in it, and you need to plan on what transformations you want to do, and ultimately you need a BI layer to help you visualize and get some value out of that data. So it's really always been for us, we're a platform, and it's been incredibly important to work with partners to make sure that we're able to provide a complete, you know, solution out to everyone who wants to use it. On the DBT side, there's a bunch that we've been doing to actually deepen the partnership a lot more. So one is we launched DBT projects recently where we're taking the DBT core runtime and hosting it inside Snowflake so that you can run and test and build your projects without needing other infrastructure elsewhere to be able to do it. We're also now working together to bring Fusion into that. So we'll have Fusion available inside Snowflake. Again, to the lawyer's comment, no promise to dates on that quite yet, but it's underway. And then our plan is to also bring the complete set of dbt platform capabilities and have those available kind of natively through Snowflake as well. You have to pay for that, but that'll be part of it. And I think this deepening of making it so that you don't need to go through multiple different purchase cycles and go through multiple different vendors to get this kind of deeply unified, integrated experience is gonna be really, really powerful. So I think continuing to take our partnership and bring it together to give just this incredibly well-integrated end-to-end experience is gonna be really, really great.
Great. Anjan, I'm gonna read this one verbatim because it's kind of a mouthful. So we've been talking a lot about open semantics, how it makes AI more trustworthy. Where do you see the biggest opportunities for AI and automation inside of data pipelines in the era of open data infrastructure?
That is a mouthful.
It is.
I think AI is going to write a lot of code. Perhaps it's going to write 10 times, 100 times more code than humans, and it's going to author a lot more dbt models. But without context, it's going to write bad code and write bad dbt models. My head of analytics, Gargin, he jokes that he's now customer support for all these bad AI queries because everyone's pinging them saying, hey, what's wrong in the business? I see something wrong. And he's like, no, your query is wrong. So I think context is kind of critical. And with AI, it needs to be done right. And I think of context in a couple of dimensions. The first dimension is context is everywhere. It's in a Slack message, it's in a database, it's a doc somewhere, and you need to kind of get it. And at Fivetran, we think about extracting all of that metadata out. And you need a very strong semantic model that ties your enterprises, your company's knowledge together, and metric flow is a good instantiation of that, and OSI is another strong path towards. So I think getting all the context together, having a strong semantic model is going to be very critical for companies to do.
Okay. Nick, back to you. Sorry, it's been a while.
It's all right.
Tableau, always been about helping people see and understand data. With OSI creating sort of a shared semantic layer across the whole stack, how do you see that, or do you see that changing the way analysts and business users experience Tableau in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. And just a little tip, because you were worried about the lawyers, just say forward-looking statement.
Forward-looking statement. Okay.
Full disclaimer.
Thank you for
You're
that
welcome.
advice. I appreciate it.
So we've taken a number of investments over the last year around this. We've started to open up Tableau. For the longest time, we don't call it a semantic layer, but we have what's known as our workbooks, which are dashboards, and our published data sources. And we've been opening that up so customers can connect LLMs to them and start asking questions using conversational analytics and chatbots. I think the other piece that we haven't really touched on, hence the forward-looking statement, is, and I was talking to Chris about this last night, so it's wonderful that we're opening up interoperability around semantic layers, but we also need to continue to invest in the trust factor, and that is, how do we look at the lineage from where it starts to where it ends? And we have a lot of work to do there as well. I thought with dbt, we've been doing a number of co-design projects. We have auto exposures in your product now. But even within Tableau, you can only see so far back. And at the same time, it can be a little bit challenging to understand upstream what's going on. So I think that's sort of the next version of this is, in addition to investing in the interoperability, we have to continue to invest in bringing trust to the data. And part of that trust is, where did this come from? Did it change? Is it still a certified piece of information? Can I use it? So for us, I think that's where we're going to start heading.
Great.
Well, I know we're going to start heading there. I own it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate that. So you have this little conference called Dreamforce.
We did. We do right now.
You want to tell us a little bit about some of the announcements maybe that were
Yeah,
made
absolutely.
that might impact these folks?
Sure. So today I'm here representing Tableau, of course, but also I represent Salesforce. So at Dreamforce, we're extending this interoperability support and announcement to the entire Agentforce platform. So Salesforce is now behind OSI and is one of the co-leaders in it. So as part of that work, we have our next generation semantic layer, which sits on top of Salesforce Data Cloud, which is also committed to supporting OSI. And so you'll be able to both, again, connect your external semantic layers wherever you're working with them and bring the power of the Agentforce platform into that. So there are some announcements being made today. Tomorrow, there's an analytics keynote. They'll be making additional announcements, which I can't share with you, so you'll have to watch that. Yeah, lots of exciting things going on at the Salesforce level.
Okay. Well, folks, before we wrap up, and I would say just kind of jump in here as you'd like, I'd love to hear a piece of advice that maybe you'd give the audience as the future comes a little bit more into focus over the last couple of days about how their data roles may adapt and change based on the fact that there's so much going on in the industry. So whoever feels like jumping in first, please do. Otherwise, I'll call on someone.
I don't know. I'll take a shot. The theme this morning was rewire expectations. And I think there's a lot going on with AI, and we have to adapt and learn. And my job 2 years ago is very different than today. And I think I say use AI all the time, every day, for every task, and it's going to make you smarter.
Okay. Sounds very wise. Nick, can you also be wise?
Absolutely. I think one thing is with the advent of all the capabilities with AI, I think all this, because I own the back of the house, and all of you who work on data, either as analytics engineers, data engineers, whatever you prefer to call yourself, now your work is being made extremely visible and even more important. So please continue to do that. Businesses have never been more reliant than all the work that you do. And then one last piece, continue to focus on that trust factor. We've had, over the years, the number one feedback we get when organizations are trying to scale out analytics and insights across the organization is a trust barrier. So,
I'd go in a similar direction, but I'd add on a bit more. I think one of the things that has been super interesting to me is the volumes of data that we're having to process are growing exponentially, and the visibility of the work that we're doing is growing exponentially. The other big benefit that's happening is, I think, both AI and the improvements in the platforms that we're building on mean that data engineers are able to elevate the way that they're thinking, the way that we're all operating, the way that we're doing our jobs. And it used to be that we had to spend a lot of time figuring out what infrastructure we were running on and exactly how things were operating. We can elevate that to now we can think about what are the transformations that we need to do, what are the pipelines that we need to build, what's the questions that someone is going to ask. And I think AI and the improvements that you're seeing from kind of a lot of the products that we're talking about today are going to allow you to keep elevating higher and higher up and higher levels of abstraction. That's super exciting, and that means that you're going to be able to operate across, like each of us is going to be able to impact vastly more data, more pipelines, more outcomes than we've been able to in the past. But it also means that we're going to have to spend a lot more time understanding the business problems that we're trying to solve and really understanding the business outcomes that we're trying to drive more than I think we've had to in the past. And so our job is going to move from managing infrastructure to building pipelines to thinking about the data models that we need, really to what business outcomes are you trying to drive? What are the results that you're trying to create? And I think the people who are going to be most in this room and across all of data engineering are going to be the most successful are the ones who can bridge that gap from understanding technically what's happening, but also like what does the CEO care about? What does the salesperson who's using the AI bot that you're creating care about? And being able to actually stitch that all together, I think that's where the real opportunity will be for all of us.
That's great. Well, gents, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here. This was great. And thank you all for being here as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
After you.
Please welcome back to the stage Grace Goheen and Jeremy Cohen.
All right, thank you to our panel participants, and a special thank you once again to Ashley Kramer.
I hope you found this afternoon's keynote as interesting as I did. I know anytime I hear a presentation that starts with papyrus, my ears perk up. So some great lessons to take with us in the age of Gen AI, and we get to see the OSI coming alive before our very eyes. Really cool stuff. All right, so we will see you right back here tomorrow morning for the community keynote. It is a surprise birthday party that you don't want to miss.
If you haven't gotten your birthday invites yet, come find me and Jeremy after the keynote. Okay?
9
That's it
a.m.
for
tomorrow,
today.
sharp. We'll see you there. Bye.